incarceration rate of our adults and the educational system in B or A or B of that question, what are we doing in terms of the recidivism rate and all those other issues that affect particularly predominantly African and Latino communities?
Dr. Jackson might be able to touch on that because, I mean, if our young people are dropping out of school and not graduating, middle school is a real big area of concern, correct?
Yeah.
For our boys.
But I think you can almost use prison builders.
They're looking at third grade if they can't read.
Use fourth grade test scores to decide how many prisons to build. Yes. They kind of use the test scores to indicate how many kids are going to be directed to prison. That's what they do.
Yeah, there are actual studies out there. People have done these studies.
I believe the Caucus conducted about 12 years ago, conducted a similar study that came up with that. It was even in lower grades than that they determined that they were basing even the construction of prison systems on those numbers, not just how many meals are going to come from the system, how much money they're going to spend there, or how much they want from the state. They were actually building prison systems strategically.
Yeah, and it goes back to our conversation about suspending a child who's in pre-K for stepping on another kid's foot. I mean, we know we have this problem in our community where our children are being labeled and designed, put in a category. You're going to be going to jail, you might make it out of high school, you're going to have babies out of wedlock, you will amount to nothing, you might go to college. We know this. What are we doing? What can we do? That's our discussion today, right?
So that's why I sound like a broken record when I keep going back to this moratorium on out-of-school suspension, because once a student is or a child is suspended, they're 4 times as likely to at some point interact with the criminal justice system. So we can't complain about the prisons being overpopulated with our children if we're willing to kick them out when they're in school. It's not, there's no alignment there. We've got to stop kicking them out when they're in school, so begin to break that pipeline. Secondly, people talk about the budget cuts. If you're in the prison industry, the budgets are growing. So if you want an economic plan to challenge any governor on, it's a plan, the economic plan should be built on depopulizing the prisons. Depopulizing the prisons, because there are a number of states that use the 3rd, 4th grade literacy rate to determine the number of beds that they will need in prison. It seems to me that you would invest those dollars on the front end, the early education, invest those dollars on the front end, then project a long-term cost savings so that you don't need those number of beds, so you can start shutting down the prisons instead of shutting down the schools.
And that's holding our leaders accountable. That goes to parents organizing, as Juju Brown has eloquently stated throughout this conversation. We can't just allow those who are policymakers, legislators, educators to make decisions. We've got to tell them what we want and demand it and follow up. We don't follow up as a community. We don't write letters as a community.
That's right.
We complain
That's right.
within the community, but we don't go down to that school board and demand and say, when are you going to give me some results? This is your deadline. We've got to start doing what the other folks have done, and they get the results. When something goes wrong in white communities, in affluent communities, white folks galvanize their forces, and they take a stand, and that's why people listen. Yes, they have money, but when you have voices, you can do stuff. So until we get pissed off enough to take back our communities and make sure our children really are first, instead of saying children first, because it sounds cute, we're not going to get anywhere.
I want you to...
Okay, but I do want to move on. I want to move on from this. We've got other people in the line. I want to move on. Okay, go ahead. Real quick.
In New Jersey, Jersey City in particular, we have the longest state control of a public school system. If you want to look at a model for how they're doing it and how they're keeping control of those systems, look at Jersey City.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Next person.